नमस्कार, मैं हूं आपके साथ अंकिता पाल। ब्रीडिंग की शुरुआत करते हैं। जलेसर कस्बा जो अपने पीतल के घंटे और घुंघरू के लिए विगत 200 साल से जाना जाता है। उल्लेखनीय है कि देश दुनिया में बहुत से जगह घंटे और घुंघरू बनते हैं, पर जलेसर की मिट्टी की तासीर ही है कि यहाँ पर बने हुए घंटे और घुंघरू की आवाज बहुत ही मधुर और निराली होती है। और ये परम सौभाग्य की बात है कि भगवान श्री राम ने जलेसर के बने घंटे को चुना है और इससे जलेसर के पीतल उद्योग को देश दुनिया के पटल पर प्रसिद्धि भी प्राप्त होगी। तो वहीं नोएडा के थाना फेज 3 पुलिस को बड़ी सफलता हाथ लगी है। आपको बता दें कि जहां पर पुलिस ने अवैध धन की मांग करने वाले ट्यूशन टीचर को गिरफ्तार किया है। दरअसल थाना फेज 3 का तहरीर देकर पुलिस को सूचना दी गई थी कि उनके मोबाइल फोन पर अज्ञात व्यक्ति 1,50,000 रुपए की मांग कर रहा है और ना देने पर वादिया की पुत्री को जान से मारने की भी धमकी दे रहा है, जिसके बाद में पुलिस ने कार्रवाई करते हुए अभियुक्त को गिरफ्तार भी किया है। वहीं नोएडा के थाना जेवर क्षेत्र के अंतर्गत नौशाद पुत्र वकील ने शराब के नशे में बिजली के खंभे पर चढ़कर बिजली का तार पकड़ लिया और जिस कारण वहां पर बिजली के करंट से गंभीर रूप से घायल हो गया, जिसे पुलिस ने घायल अवस्था में कैलाश अस्पताल में भर्ती कराया है, जहां से इसे ट्रॉमा सेंटर भर्ती कराया गया। फिलहाल इसकी हालत अभी स्थिर बनी हुई है। वहीं पुलिस पूरे मामले की जांच कर रही है। वहीं गौतम बुद्ध नगर के थाना दादरी पुलिस ने चोरी की घटनाओं का सफल अनावरण करते हुए बड़ी सफलता हासिल की है, जहां पर पुलिस ने चोरी करने वाले 5 शातिर चोरों को गिरफ्तार किया है और जिनके कब्जे से पुलिस ने भारी मात्रा में चोरी का माल भी बरामद किया है और जिसमें नगद रुपए, घटना में प्रयुक्त कैंटर गाड़ी और फोर्ड कार को भी बरामद किया है।
पुलिस को एक बड़ी सफलता मिली है। इन लोगों ने अभी ये लगातार पिछले सप्ताह कई चोरी की घटनाओं का अनावरण किया है। ये गैंग 5 लोगों का है, इसमें 5 लोग गिरफ्तार हुए हैं। इनके पास से एक फोर्ड फिगो गाड़ी मिली है और एक कैंटर मिला है। एक गिरफ्तार अभियुक्तों के नाम तारिफ, मुकुंद, कपिल, तुषार, जावेद है। ये लोग यहाँ पे जो निर्माणाधीन साइट है उनकी दिन में रेकी कर लेते थे। निर्माणाधीन साइट, पेरिफेरल और अन्य प्राइवेट संस्थानों से इन्होंने सरिया और अन्य लोहे के सामानों को चोरी किया है। इसमें से जो अभियुक्त आरिफ है, इसकी अपनी एक कबाड़ की दुकान है और ये वहां ले जाकर के इसको बिक्री करते थे। इनके पास जो बरामद माल है उसके आधार पर इनमें से संगत धाराओं में अभियोग पंजीकृत करके इनको जेल भेजा जा रहा है। इनका आपराधिक इतिहास भी है और इनके बारे में अन्य जानकारी जुटा करके इसमें अग्रिम विधिक कार्रवाई अमल में लाई जाएगी।
तो वहीं आपको बता दें कि $1 ट्रिलियन की अर्थव्यवस्था लखनऊ में कार्यक्रम का आयोजन किया गया है और मुख्य सचिव दुर्गा शंकर भी यहां पर मौजूद रहे। क्या कुछ कह रहे हैं, आपको सुनवाते हैं।
Our economic objectives. The second is social inclusion and social equity, because one could be a $1 trillion economy with vast inequalities, or one could be a $1 trillion economy in which the whole society is brought along. I happen to live in a very, very rich but extraordinarily unequal country that has become more unequal over the last 40 years, the United States, and we're feeling all of the political and social instabilities that have resulted from widening inequality. The fact that our political system is becoming less and less stable, that all politicians are basically disliked, and that we don't know what it will be from one election to the next anymore, is in significant part because the inequalities have become very large. We're 2 or 3 completely separate societies right now. In fact, I would say, from what I can gather, 3 very different societies. There's a half of the country that is not thriving, that's doing rather poorly. Their incomes are stagnant or falling. They're very unhappy. There's a part which we are fortunate to be part of, that are professionals that do very well, and the economy has been kind to highly educated people, and that have been lucky in life to have that. And then there is a thin strand of very, very rich people who are really disconnected from the society, except that they own the government process. And so they're running the show, but they aren't part of the society itself. So the Sustainable Development Goals aims to avoid that. It aims to create an economy and society in which there are not such huge differences in income and in power and in influence. And I think that's quite important. The third objective of the SDGs, of course, is the environmental objectives, because the natural environment is under unprecedented stress every place in the world. And the Sustainable Development Goals are telling us to reach $1 trillion, reach it in an environmentally sustainable way, which is very hard. And one can just breathe the air or look at the environment to see how under stress it is now. And of course, in addition to what we can see with our own eyes or what we can breathe in our lungs, we have the long-term climate change and the loss of biodiversity, which are very much affecting India as they're affecting every part of the world. And the fourth pillar of sustainable development is peaceful societies that are also internationally interconnected in partnership. And so this is the fourth objective. Indeed, SDG number 17 is global partnerships. I'm a big believer in that, but it's not easy and it's getting harder in the world, because I would say the world is more divided than at any time I can remember in my life. We have 2 raging wars underway right now, both of which are extremely dangerous. And you can't imagine, well, you hear about it, of course, but there's war talk every day in Washington about when is the war with China going to come? When is the war with China going to come? That's the war that will end all wars, because it will end the world if it actually happened. But our politicians are so irresponsible that they don't know. It's something not to be timed, it's something to be avoided at all costs. So the SDGs I want to emphasize are about economics, social inclusion, environmental sustainability, and peace. And these are the objectives, I believe, that need to be embedded in any strategy and in any plan for any society. And that's true for UP, it's true for India as a whole, it's true for the whole world, which is why, thank you for bringing me the notebook like this. You reminded me what I should really be talking about, which is a broad-based strategy. Now, to achieve the SDGs or to achieve a $1 trillion economy is, to a very significant extent, a challenge of investing in the future in the right way. So investment is absolutely at the core of any effective strategy. An economy doesn't grow by itself. an economy advances by making the kinds of investments that raise the productivity, that improve the technologies, that improve the livelihoods of the people in the economy. And that is an investment challenge. And so as a planning unit, planning the public investment side of that is the most important single task. What kinds of investments are needed, and especially by the public sector, to facilitate the transformation of an economy in this way? And that's a tough question to answer, because there's a big challenge of analysis, and then there's a very big challenge of finance. How do you pay for what you want to do in order to achieve the outcomes? In part, private investors will pay for certain parts, but the public sector needs to pay for other parts, so the financing issue is absolutely central. Let me give you my quick answer to how to think about that challenge. I'll start.
तो बढ़ते हैं आगे। आपको बता दें कि $1 ट्रिलियन की अर्थव्यवस्था पर लखनऊ में कार्यक्रम आयोजित किया गया है। मुख्य सचिव दुर्गा शंकर भी वहां पर मौके पर मौजूद हैं, तो सीधा आपको लेकर चलते हैं।
Be taken into account in the planning. These are obvious, but I think that they're quite important. The first is that more than ever we are in a knowledge economy. This change towards a knowledge economy has been underway for 100 years, I would say, but nothing is slowing it down. Everything that is needed for economic life, and especially for higher incomes, depends on knowledge, depends on, first, solid education, and then second, scientific and technological knowledge. And the innovation role in the economy has become ever more important. If I wanted to know one absolute number about an economy to judge where it stands, I would first ask, what is the typical schooling in that economy? How many years does a young person go to school? Then I would ask, how do they do on an internationally standardized test? And those two factors would give me a huge amount of information to assess where that economy stands and how it's changing. So with UP, I don't even know the most recent data, because I tried to look at what is the comprehensive data. I could not find a reliable answer to that basic question, which I would like to know. But what proportion of the young people in UP are finishing upper secondary school right now? And when they finish, what is the quality of their education? There is the international testing, by the way, the PISA test, which is the OECD measurement test. India was part of it 15 years ago. It did very badly. It stopped being part of it. That's not a good approach. A good approach is, after doing badly, do better. And that's the approach I would like to see India to get back into the PISA testing and to start rising sharply in the ranks of the PISA outcomes. The PISA is the program on international school achievement, and it's really important to be benchmarked on that. Interestingly, the new results just came out, and they showed the East Asian countries at the very top. Again, China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singapore, all the top ranks. They're doing Korea, Japan, they're doing something very well in the education. I'm trying to figure out what it is, but they're absolutely performing extremely well in terms of reading, mathematics, and science for 15-year-olds, which is what PISA is measuring. And this translates pretty directly into high incomes in a short period of time. And there are lots of studies now showing that schooling adjusted for quality is the single biggest predictor of economic outcomes, period, worldwide. So if I had to make one investment, it would be in education. And I would say everything else would take care of itself to some extent, because with a well-educated population, either they'll stay if they have what to use in infrastructure, or they will leave, but they will be successful. And as all of you know, the single most successful group in the United States are from India, are the Indian expats, who are the most professional, highest trained, highest educated. But make sure that is society-wide. And this, I think, would be my #1 answer to UP's challenge. It doesn't come immediately. I know you want even faster answers, but educating young people with quality is the single most important investment any society can possibly make. Now, the second related transformation in the societies, of course, is the digital transformation, because every age is defined by its leading technological advance. And our age is definitely defined by the digital technologies. In our visit today to Sitipur, and when we went, of course, this is no news to you, but when we went to the ASHA workers, when we went to the agricultural workers, when we went to the education workers, everybody's got smartphones, everybody's using them. Not in the most organized way to capture all the information yet, but the digital technology platforms are pervasive, which is fantastic, but I think are really a crucial tool for further advances. Are children learning online effectively? Is the online component being integrated with the in-class component effectively? Is the online health component being integrated with what happens in the clinic, what happens in the home, and so forth? The answer seems to be a bit, but not in a comprehensive and systematic way as much as could be done. But one thing is for sure, every successful economy will be a 5G, 6G, 7G economy in the next 15 years. And everything that business will want, everything that households will need, everything that doctors will need, educators will need, will be on digital platforms, because the technology is absolutely wonderful. Now, this is an area where India is really in a leadership, and also not only in a leadership in the absolute technology, in a leadership in applying the technology in a low-income setting, where India's done more than any place in the world to do this. And by the way, that is one of the reasons why India, of course, is growing so rapidly and is now the fastest growing large economy in the world, and why the growth could even accelerate. And it's a phenomenal opportunity for exports, exporting digital services of all kinds. And India's exports to Africa in this regard will be enormous for the next 30 years if India takes the opportunity and makes that connection systematically. So first point, knowledge economy. Second, digital economy. Third point, green economy. There is no escape from the need to transform technologies to green, zero carbon, low environmental impact technologies. And this is a very big challenge, but it is an inescapable problem because we need to do this urgently. India is very vulnerable to the global climate change. And so as much as it would be convenient to say, don't bother us for a while, we have other things on our mind, because India depends on coal, it depends on a fossil fuel economy, the transformation has to take place at the global level and will have to take place within India because every country is going to have to be in a zero carbon energy system in order to be able to trade with the rest of the world. You can see Europe already putting the limitations on trade with countries with high carbon content. This is going to become a general proposition worldwide because the consequences of what's happening now are so serious. And so you know that 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and 2024 is going to be worse, and the amount of dislocations are enormous, and so the need and the pressure for decarbonization will be huge. So when you make the plans, you have to make the plans for making this transformation quite quickly. What does that mean? It means a few important things. One is that the power grid, and you're going to need a lot more electricity in this state, a lot more than you have now to be a $1 trillion economy. It's going to have to be green power. It can't be coal-based power. There's an obvious answer, by the way, which is your next door neighbor to the north, Nepal, has a lot of hydropower to sell to you, and you should be buying it and making, tapping that potential and just making a connection for a massive amount of very green, very affordable, low-cost hydropower. They're not so keen, you're not so keen, but somehow the scaling up has to take place. And you're in a very good position to tap that, and they're in a very good position to develop that hydropower. And so this is just one example. Another example is that, and it's happening very fast, is that the whole automobile sector will become electric vehicles very quickly. China by far dominates right now, but India is starting to develop an EV industry.
फिलहाल इस बुलेटिन में इतना ही। नमस्कार।